Hey everybody, welcome back to 100% Marks. So Newcastle United took on Wolves, of course, down at the Molineux yesterday in a half-4 kickoff. And of course, that game ended in a 1-1. Now, looking at the game, it wasn't great. Newcastle United didn't really put in that much of a performance. Again, it was another, as per usual, Steve Bruce defensive showing. We had attacking players in the lineup as well, but they weren't getting their chance to do anything, and when they did actually get a chance to do something, we couldn't get that final ball, to go in the net forward. Callum Wilson looked absolutely stranded up top. He had no service to him at all. We ended up coming away from the game with like 37% possession, 5 shots in the game to Wolves' 16 shots. But at the end of the day, we came away with a point, and that's all that matters, obviously. But again, a very, very defensive showing from Steve Bruce and the lads, and that's something that we've come to see quite a lot from Steve Bruce since he's become the Newcastle United manager. He likes to play a very defensive game. He doesn't like to attack very much, and it's something that's becoming a bit stale to watch as well, with how drab the performances are. Just a quick touch on some of the things that happened in the match, of course. Jacob Murphy, absolutely solid performance from the lad. Of course, he scored the equalising goal from a absolutely sensational free kick. Just perfect curl on it into the bottom right hand corner. Pass through Patricio to get the equaliser for Newcastle. But of course, just before that, Raul Jimenez scored his goal off, of course, a set piece that was quite questionable, considering that nothing really went on in that area, and all of a sudden then Lee Mason's calling up for a free kick, which then, of course, as we all know, Raul Jimenez ends up scoring off with the ball coming out to say the box and him just smashing it in to the direction of the goal. And of course, Caldolo got a hand to it, but it just wasn't enough to push it around that post. And then, of course, we'll look at like Miguel Armoring in the game as well. He was absolutely sensational. He was just running for days, stamina for days with that lad. Absolutely amazing play once again. He could have played another 90 minutes. He was absolutely fantastic in the game against Wolves. He was a little bit overrunning his things, but you can understand at the end he hasn't played a game for a little while, and he was probably very excited to be getting his first start for a while as well. But looking at Jeff Hendrick again, very underwhelming. He was playing in his preferred role in centre midfield as well. He was not the best on the attacking side of things, but he did pretty good in his defensive work at the end of the day, and I believe that's all that matters. Fabian Shaw, absolutely sensational performance from him as well in the game. He's really starting to look like he's getting his game back to the 18-19 season. He had a bit of a rocky performance in the 19-20 season, of course, after not being in the starting lineup for 6 months. That's how long Steve Bruce had freezed him out of the squad. But he's starting to look a little bit more like himself from the 18-19 season. He's getting a bit more performances in there again, and hopefully, he'll be able to take that and come on leaps and bounds. Looking at, of course, Steve Bruce, he's one of their managers, really proactive. Probably one of the least proactive managers in the Premier League. And, he's just questionable manager. He waits till the last 10 to 15 minutes before he puts on a substitution, which, for me is just way, way too long. You're not giving the lads enough time to get into the game and make an impact in the game. And, that's something that he's going to have to rectify, going into the game against Everton. We're going to be going up against the league leaders in Everton, who have been absolutely sensational this season so far. They've only, of course, lost to Southampton yesterday And, you know, that's just something Steve Bruce is going to have to look at, you know, going into that game coming up. He's going to have to go in with the right mentality, because it could end very, very miserably in that game against Everton if we don't go in with the right mentality. But like I say, we've got to go into the game and look in the right way of coming away with something out of it. If it's a point, then great, you know, because at the end of the day, it is Everton. They are probably one of the best teams in the league at this moment in time, with the way Dominic Calvert-Lewin's banging in the goals for them, you know, and James Rodriguez is having an absolute great game there as well. But let us know your thoughts on the game last night against Wolves. Till next time, remember to like, share, subscribe. Of course, after that game, we sit 14th in the Premier League table as well, which will be up on screen now. We'll have 8 points out of 6 games, which isn't bad. Hopefully we can get a couple more points on the board and push up there. If we had won yesterday, we would have went up into the top 6, but unfortunately it's not a B. But Wolves, who managed to get their point and probably should have took all 3 points if it hadn't been for that late Jacob Murphy goal, of course, are in 8th place with 10 points. So let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, remember, like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags, and I'll see you all next time. However, lads.